And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee.
As silver is of less value than gold, so the Medo-Persian Empire was inferior in splendor, luxury, and magnificence to the kingdom of Babylon, but not in strength. To understand the Medo-Persian Empire, we need some background knowledge on its rulers. The scriptures name two individuals who are involved in the overthrow of Babylon. The first one is recorded in Daniel chapter 5.
In that night was Belshazzar the king of the Chaldeans slain. And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
The other individual is recorded in Isaiah chapter 45.
Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him. And I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut.
Darius was a Mede, and Cyrus was a Persian. The two arms of the image represented the alliance between Media and Persia. Cyrus was the son of Cambyses, king of Persia. His mother, Mandane, was the daughter of the Median king Astyages. When Astyages died, his son, Cyaxares II, also known as Darius the Mede, took rulership over Media. However, Cyrus held sway over Media and Persia, but was not sole ruler. After Cyrus had taken Babylon, history informs us that he gave authority to his aged uncle, Darius the Mede.
The historian Prideaux says Darius the Mede, that is Cyaxares, the uncle of Cyrus, took the kingdom, for Cyrus allowed him the title of all his conquests as long as he lived.
Although Darius was in his later years, he only ruled by permission of the real conqueror, Cyrus.
And now when the march had brought them into Media, Cyrus turned aside to visit Cyaxares. After they had met and embraced, Cyrus began by telling Cyaxares that a palace in Babylon and an estate had been set aside for him.
Cyrus the Great led the Medo-Persian army against the city of Babylon in 539 BC. He was guided by the Lord to fulfill divine prophecy that was written over 100 years before he was born.
Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him. And I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. I will go before thee, and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass, and cut in sunder the bars of iron. And I will give thee the treasures of darkness, and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord, which call thee by thy name, am the God of Israel.
Not only does God tell of Cyrus's name before he was born, but he also ordained the method of conquering the great city Babylon. Cyrus diverted the river Euphrates, enabling him to march under the wall and through the gate that was left open.
However, by this time the trenches were dug, and Cyrus heard that it was a time of high festival in Babylon, when the citizens drink and make merry the whole night long. As soon as the darkness fell, he set his men to work. The mouths of the trenches were opened, and during the night the water poured in, so that the riverbed formed a highway into the heart of Babylon. When the great stream had taken to its new channel, Cyrus ordered his Persian officers to bring up their thousands, horse and foot alike, the allies to follow in their old order. They lined up immediately, and Cyrus made his own bodyguard descend into the dry channel first, to see if the bottom was firm enough for marching.
After Darius had put Daniel in the lion's den, he died in 536 BC, leaving Cyrus sole ruler over the empire. Cyrus was a believer in religious liberty, and in the same year, 536, he made his famous decree allowing the Jews to return home to Jerusalem, undoing what Nebuchadnezzar had done in 606 BC when he first besieged Jerusalem and took the Jews captive into Babylon, thus completing the prophecy spoken by Jeremiah.
For thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you, and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place.
After the death of Cyrus, his son Cambyses II ruled for 7 years, from 530 to 523 BC. In 522, his younger brother Smerdis held the scepter for 7 months. Then in 521 BC, Darius the Persian, also known as Darius the Great, ascended the throne. It was under his rulership that the empire answered most fully to the silver of the great image. He also expanded the empire to its height.
Darius conducted the introduction of a universal currency, the daric. Darius applied the coinage system as a transnational currency to regulate trade and commerce throughout his empire. Early in his reign, Darius wanted to organize the loosely organized empire with a system of taxation. To do this, Darius created 20 provinces and specified fixed tributes that the satrapies were required to pay in daric. There were two types of daric, a gold and a silver. Only the king could mint gold darics. Important generals and satraps minted silver darics, thus making the silver daric the most prevalent by far. The daric was a major boost to international trade. Trade goods such as textiles, carpets, tools, and metal objects began to travel throughout Asia, Europe, and Africa. To further improve trade, Darius built a royal highway, a postal system, and Phoenician-based commercial shipping. During Darius's Greek expedition, he had begun construction projects in Susa, Egypt, and Persepolis. He had linked the Red Sea to the River Nile by building a canal, which ran from modern Zacchaeus to modern Suez in 497 BCE. Darius also built a canal to connect the Red Sea and the Mediterranean.
Thus, silver poured into Persepolis, the capital of the empire. This silver-rich kingdom became a true pioneer in global economy. It was this King Darius that gave the second decree to rebuild Jerusalem. After his death, Xerxes, the husband of Queen Esther, became extremely wealthy as a result of this inherited economy. Xerxes was succeeded by Artaxerxes, who gave the third decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem in 457 BC. After his death, Medo-Persia continued for another 93 years, ending with Darius III, who lost the kingdom to Alexander the Great in 331 BC.